rain fell softly against the tall windows of Marcus Chen's corner office on the 42nd floor. He sat behind his massive mahogany desk, reviewing quarterly reports with the same intensity. He brought to everything in his life. Numbers, profits, market shares, these were the things that made sense to him. These were the things he could control. Marcus had built Chen Technologies from nothing. 20 years of endless work, sacrifice, and determination had transformed a small startup into a billion-dollar empire. At 53, he was at the peak of his career. Respected, feared even. He demanded perfection from everyone around him, and most of all, from himself. His assistant, Jennifer, knocked gently on the door. She had worked for Marcus for 8 years and knew his moods better than anyone. "Mr. Chen," she said quietly, "there's someone here to see you." "A woman with a young girl. They don't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. She says she has a letter for you." Marcus didn't look up from his papers. "I don't have time for walk-ins." "Tell them to schedule through the proper channels." Jennifer hesitated. "Sir, the little girl looks quite ill. She's in a wheelchair. The mother seems desperate." Marcus sighed heavily. He had learned long ago that getting emotionally involved with people's problems was a distraction. Still, something in Jennifer's voice made him pause. "5 minutes," he said curtly. "That's all I can spare." The woman who entered was thin and tired, with dark circles under her eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. She pushed a wheelchair carrying a girl who couldn't have been more than 7 years old. The child wore a bright yellow hat over her bald head, and despite her obvious frailty, her eyes were alive with curiosity as she looked around the impressive office. "Mr. Chen," the woman began, her voice trembling slightly. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. This is my daughter, Emma. We've traveled a long way to see you. Emma has something she needs to give you." Marcus glanced at his watch. "I'm very busy, Mrs. Mitchell. If you need charitable assistance, my foundation has an application process." "It's not about money," Sarah interrupted gently. "Please, just read the letter." The little girl named Emma reached into a small backpack on her lap and pulled out an envelope. Her hand shook slightly as she held it out toward Marcus. On the front, in careful, childish handwriting, were the words, "To the man who saved my mommy." Something about those words made Marcus's throat tighten unexpectedly. He took the envelope slowly, aware that both Jennifer and Sarah were watching him. As he opened it, he noticed Emma's eyes fixed on him with an intensity that seemed too old for such a young face. The letter was written in the same careful handwriting, with some words clearly helped by an adult hand. "Dear Mr. Chen," it began, "my name is Emma Mitchell. I am 7 years old. I have something called leukemia, which means I am very sick. The doctors say I might not get better. But that's okay because I'm not afraid. I wanted to meet you before. I go to heaven because you saved my mommy's life a long time ago. And if you didn't, I would never have been born. My mommy told me that 20 years ago, when she was just 18 years old, she was in a car accident. She was hurt very badly. There was a young man who stopped to help her. He stayed with her and called for help and made sure she wasn't alone until the ambulance came. The doctor said if he hadn't stopped, she would have died. That young man was you. My mommy never forgot your name because you told her to stay awake and keep talking to you. You asked her what her dreams were. She told you she wanted to be a teacher and have a family someday. You told her she would do both those things. And she did. She became a teacher. She met my daddy. And they had me. So thank you for saving my mommy, because that means you gave me my whole life. Even though it's going to be short, I got to see 7 beautiful years because of you. I hope you know that the things you do matter, even the things you might forget about. I will never forget you. Love, Emma. Marcus read the letter twice, then a third time. His hands, always so steady during business negotiations, were trembling. He looked up at Sarah and suddenly he remembered. A rainy night 2 decades ago, when he was just a young man driving home from his first real job interview. A car flipped on its side. A teenage girl trapped inside, bleeding and terrified. He had pulled over without thinking, called 911, and stayed with her until help arrived. He had almost missed his interview the next morning because he'd been at the hospital so long. He'd gotten the job anyway. It was the beginning of his empire. But somewhere along the way, he had forgotten that night. Forgotten the scared girl whose hand he held. Forgotten the promise he made to himself, that he would always help people when they needed it. "Sarah," he said quietly, his voice rough with emotion, "I remember you now. You told me about wanting to teach English. You said you loved poetry." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You remembered my dream. You told me I would live to see it come true. And I did. I taught for 15 years before Emma got sick." Marcus knelt down beside Emma's wheelchair, meeting her eyes at her level. This little girl with her bright yellow hat and two wise eyes. "Emma," he said softly, "thank you for your letter. Thank you for reminding me of something I had forgotten. Your mother was very brave that night, and I can see that you're very brave too." Emma smiled, a smile that lit up her entire face. "I just wanted you to know that you're a hero. My hero, even if you forgot about it." The rain continued to fall outside as Marcus sat with Emma and Sarah. He canceled his afternoon meetings. They talked about Emma's favorite books, about Sarah's students, about the small, precious moments that make up a life. When they finally left, Marcus stood at his window for a long time, watching the rain and holding Emma's letter. The next morning, he called an emergency meeting with his board of directors. Chen Technologies would be launching a new initiative, a foundation dedicated to helping families dealing with childhood illness. They would cover medical expenses, provide support, fund research. It would be called the Emma Mitchell Foundation. 3 months later, Marcus received word that Emma had passed away peacefully, surrounded by her family. At her memorial service, he spoke about a brave little girl who reminded a busy, distracted man what truly mattered in life. Emma's final wish hadn't shattered the CEO. It had saved him. And in doing so, it would save countless others.